Okay, so we'll begin Tehilim Psalms. We're holding chapter Samach Bet 62. We'll do 62 and 63. They're pretty much brief chapters, right? Very valuable lessons, as you will see from the various Pesukim. Sometimes it appears that David HaMelech repeats himself, but you find that if he does say something similar to what he said before, it's only to emphasize some very important ideas. One of those ideas that we will soon see is about the importance of bitachon b'Hashem, trusting God, not just believing that He exists, not only believing that He created the world, but that He is actually involved in our lives, as He Himself experienced, therefore bears witness to what He went through, and how it paid off to trust in Hashem and not to trust in human beings. In Pasuk Aleph, the first verse, Lamnatzech al Yidutun Mizmor David, he put together this composition for the conductor on Yidutun. Yidutun, some say, is a musical instrument. However, it appears to me, as some of the commentaries say, that Yidutun was an actual person, a certain individual. Mizmor David, a psalm to David. Rabbis tell us from this first pasuk, Al Yidutun also refers to the many datot and dinim, the many decrees that various empires decreed upon us, and from which we suffered greatly. And in experiencing all these terrible persecutions, what should one think, or what should one believe? A lot of people, when they see hardships, when they see difficult times, they think that perhaps they just have to give up and assimilate or accept what is being forced upon them. They don't realize that all of this is from heaven. None of these types of experiences coming through war, through persecution, is man-made, even though man does act as an agent, and he is to blame for all the wrong that he did, for all the wrong that he committed. Nonetheless, the recipient of all this pain, what is he supposed to believe? That all of this is from Hashem, and it serves some ultimate good. It's not just a punishment. Judaism doesn't look at punishment as something that is extremely painful, bad, and negative. It actually sees the good in the punishment as well, because our tradition says very clearly that everything that comes down from above is for some good. God does not do something that is bad. It serves a purpose. Human beings can be bad. Human beings can be evil and can harm others. So that which we go through serves some greater purpose, and definitely some benefit will be derived from it. All of this will be, as he says various times, the Yeshuatenu, for our ultimate salvation. Ach el Elohim dumiyan nafshi mimenu Yeshuati. To God alone, he says, does my soul hope. That's one interpretation of the word dumiyah, is to hope or to look forward to. Mimenu Yeshuati, my salvation is from Him. Dumiyah can also be to be silent, to be accepting, not to complain. When people go through hard times, it is possible that they may react in a very negative way and complain, why me? Why is this happening? Mm-hmm. And for the most part, that is out of ignorance, but also out of frustration, not knowing how to deal with it properly. And here the message is, one way of dealing with it is trusting in Hashem, that if it's something that you have no control over with, it's not in your hands, just accept it. He's the boss, He's in charge, He knows what He's doing. It's definitely a wake-up call if it's painful. It doesn't mean that we should just ignore it. When he uses the word dumiyah, nafshi, that my soul is accepting of it. At the same time, according to the other interpretation, it is hopeful in you that you will relieve us from this pain and from from this terrible experience. We only hope in you, because from you is Yeshuati. Achu tzuri v'yeshuati mizgabi lo emot rabah. Here he again emphasizes this point, that he alone is my rock in my salvation. As we've said many times, the various terms that he uses to describe Hashem has to do with the various experiences that human beings have in life, where they need to rely on something powerful, more powerful than the enemy. In other words, how do we overcome certain hardships when we think that there's no hope? We have to remember that Hashem is Tzuri, Yeshuati, Mizgabi. Look at all these terms that he's using here, and they're not just synonymous. They all reflect a certain trust that we need to have, how Hashem can help us regardless of the situation, regardless of what the hardship is. Even if it's beyond hope, as many of you probably have heard of cases where people had cancer, terminal cancer, and in the end somehow they got out of it. They were able to recover, they were able to become healthy again, even though all the professionals were predicting that no way will she or he come out of it. So this is the types of situations that David HaMelech is talking about, not just war, battle, persecution, enemies of the types that he had, but all kinds, in all kinds of circumstances, one should have in mind, that Hashem is the one to turn to. Obviously, we go to doctors, we go to professionals to seek help. They should be the agents in the hands of Hashem. By the way, the segula for this perek, the chapter's power, is especially good for seeking forgiveness from Hashem for certain sins. It is powerful, perhaps because of the faith that is being strengthened. We're saying that we believe in Hashem, that we trust in you, only in you, and perhaps that helps to gain a certain atonement for certain things where we may have doubted him, we may have gone against him, and here we're doing the exact opposite. We're reinforcing that faith that we should have had all along. Could be. So that is what he says in verse 3, that you alone are my rock, my salvation. Mizgabi is my stronghold. But he adds the word lo emot rabah, which is very interesting. He hasn't used these words before in the exact same word. Lo emot, I should not falter, I should not fall, stumble. But what is the word rabah doing here? So the simple translation of rabah is greatly. Lo emot rabah, I should not falter or fall greatly. One way of looking at it is that he says, even though I may be falling now, it will not last long. So rabah could be saying, yes, sometimes it appears that a person is falling, he's losing it, he's having a hard time. You should think, you should believe, it will not be for long. Bezat Hashem, God willing, I will come out of it soon. And it's very important to believe that, even though it may not happen, only Hashem knows why. But it helps a person to not only maintain his faith, to maintain hope. Sometimes a person kills himself because of the pain that he has, thinking in a certain way. Don't think negatively, think positively. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Things can change. They have changed for many people. Why should they change for you? Sometimes it appears bleak, it appears that there's no way out of it. Still, lo emot rabah. All the pain that I may be experiencing will not last long. That is one idea of what the word rabah means. Or, according to other commentators, lo emot rabah means as a result of the pain and suffering, you think it's for nothing, it's in vain? No. This is an atonement for my sins in this world so that I should be spared from Gehinnom. I should not fall greatly, I should not fall worse. Things should not be any worse later on, after one's death. So, in some ways, what we pay for in this world can be very helpful, that we will avoid a greater fall in the afterlife. That's the other interpretation of the word rabah. Ad anna tehotetu al ish. Very interesting word that he uses, dehotetu. It's not very common in the Torah, but it means to plot, to conspire. It is the action that people take or that they plan in order to make someone fall. It's not the actual action that was taken, but it's the planning that goes into bringing it about. So he says, Ad ana tehotetu alish. Until when are you going to continue to plot for the ish, meaning for himself, for this man, to fall? For him to go through a disaster? Because that's what the word tehotetu usually implies, that the man will go through some sort of disaster, some sort of fall, from which he cannot easily recover. However, the next word, some pronounce it with a kamatz and some with a patach, teratzehu. It depends how you pronounce it. It could either mean you will be killed or you will kill. If we translate this word as you are killing or you will kill, kulechem kekir natui gadera dechoya, the way you act, the way you've conspired against others and plotted against others is in order to murder them in an indirect way, like to make a wall fall on them, to make it look like it was an accident. Mm-hmm. And this is what the Midrash says in Sodom, in the city of Sodom. Very wicked people. Sometimes that is how they got people's money. Strangers that came into town, they would somehow get him to go under a wall or a fence, and they would make it collapse on him. He would die, and then they would take his money. And these things happen even today at all times. When someone does not want to make it apparent that this individual was murdered, they may make it look like a suicide. They may make it look like an accident. Everything to avoid detection. So this is one way of interpreting what he's saying, that you will kill, like a leaning wall, a toppled fence, meaning using these kinds of means to murder someone. But according to the more accepted translation, teratzehu means that you will be killed. In other words, in the end, this is what will happen to you. You conspired, you plotted against others. In the end, you will be killed. How? Like a leaning wall. In other words, you will fall flat. Not only will you not succeed in your plot, but those individuals, his enemies who plotted against him, in the end, they will be killed. Now, you may be reading a few of these verses over here and think, look at David HaMelech. Is he really wishing bad? Is he really cursing his enemies? He's not that type of a person to ask for his enemy's downfall. Many of the words here are prophetic, as you will see later on. He's being very specific as to how these individuals, his enemies, will die. It could only be prophecy. It could only be prophecy, prophetic words or divine inspiration, by which he foresees how the end will be for these enemies. Pasuk Hey, verse 5. Ach mise'eto ya'atzu lehadiach, yirtzu chazav befiv yivarechu ubekilbam yikallu sera. This also has several interpretations. Ach mise'eto. Some say out of their arrogance. In other words, these individuals act out of arrogance. They think more highly of themselves, therefore they think less of the individual who they're trying to bring down. Okay, that's possible, but I think that a better interpretation is what the commentaries tell us about how they went about tricking David HaMelech, making him believe, on the one hand, that they are his friends, and later going behind his back. Something that people do, two-faced people. So mise'eto means, you know how they plotted, you know how they try to get away with it in hurting me? Mise'eto. They first tried to elevate him So here the word seto, instead of translated as arrogance, could mean to elevate, to bring up, to put him on a high step. Oh, he's a righteous man. He's a great guy. Yes, he would make a good king. Whatever. Bring him up, make him feel good. Let him think that you like him, that you're his friend. Miseto, after all, he's elevating you. He's putting you on a pedestal. But from that seeto, ya'atsu le'adiach. That is how they scheme to topple David. Yirtzu chazav. Yirtzu means they wish or they favor falsehood, lies. Befiv yevarechu, bekirbam yikalelu sela. You see the hypocrisy here? With their lips, they bless, they flatter, they say nice words. But bekirbam, inside in their hearts, they curse forever. Which is like the second interpretation, that they are not sincere. They're trying to mask their real feelings, their real intentions. Ach mise'eto, according to another interpretation, is also as a result of his high position. David HaMelech becomes popular. He's about to become king. You don't think people will be jealous? People will not like him for that? So that's another way of looking at the word se'eto. They're not liking him because of his high position. They see his great potential. And either they're afraid of it or they're simply jealous. And that is why they resort to lies and to anything they can to make sure that he doesn't get to that high position. Pasuk Vav. Ach le'Elohim domi nafshi, ki mimenu tikvati. He once again says, but only to Hashem do I hope, does my soul hope. Ki mimenu tikvati, for my hope is only from Him. Very important idea that he expresses over here. David HaMelech did have friends, he did have supporters. He definitely had people that liked him, that believed in him. Not everybody was his enemy. Still, he's reminding us that he did not have confidence in these people. He did not trust them. He did not put his faith in human beings, just in Hashem. Because even though you have people who are going to help you, whether it's financial help or some other kind of help, don't believe for one moment that your help will come from them. Even though they're real, they're sincere, the real help comes from Hashem, and therefore my hope is only with Hashem. As he continues on to say, that only He alone is my rock and salvation, my stronghold, I should not falter. Here he expresses another important idea, that the greater bitachon that one has in Hashem, in God, the more trust he has, the more the salvation he will have. His trust is complete in Hashem, therefore he knows for sure, lo emot, that he will never falter. How does he know for sure? He has enough experience. He's already lived through it. He's gone through it many, many times. He's seen that his prayers were answered. He sees that his trust in Hashem paid off. He sees it's real. And he's reminding us, future generations, it's not just by him, it's for any one of us who truly has trust in Hashem. This trust, as he will repeat many times, will be a big help for him. Sometimes it's only in the merit of the bitachon b'Hashem, of the trust and faith that we have in Hashem, that we were protected or that we experienced a miracle. Only because of that alone. Somebody really, really believed that this is what will happen, God willing, if Hashem wishes it so. And in the merit of that trust in Hashem, they were helped. Pasuk Chet. Al Elohim yish'iu chvodi Tzur ozi machsi beloim. My salvation and honor is upon God. The rock of my strength, my refuge is in God. Here he adds the word kevodi, my honor. He's saying almost the same thing he said earlier, that he puts his faith, his salvation in Hashem, but he adds my honor. Why add honor here? He's concerned, of course, with the honor of Hashem. If his honor, David's honor, is in any way diminished, that will also be a chilul Hashem, God forbid, a diminishing of the honor of Hashem. You see, he wasn't there for the righteous. A lot of people use this as a complaint. Where was God in the Holocaust? Even though the Holocaust is not the best example, because that was a terrible decree. And that's unfortunately something that the Jewish people experienced various times in our history, whether it was the destruction of the first temple, the second temple, the Crusades, the many pogroms and persecutions. It was not just one Holocaust. And these are terrible decrees which the Torah documents and discusses at length that it may happen if we go in the wrong path. But here he's concerned for his personal welfare, but not so much for his physical survival, as much as it is for the honor of Hashem. That at least it may come across like that all those who trusted in you, who had hope in you, they were not answered. Nothing happened from all that trust. He, after all, wants to teach us something, which is why he adds the word Al Elohim Yish'i Uchvodi. My salvation and my honor is upon Hashem. It depends on Hashem, because Tzur Ozi Machsi Belochim. He is my rock and he is my strength. Nothing else. Person may have a large army. Person can have many bodyguards. You should not forget that his strength and his ability to defend himself is in the hands of Hashem completely. It's not up to his plans. It's not up to his ability, physical ability, to protect himself, even though he may need to do that, of course. We don't rely on a miracle. We're told never to rely on a miracle. Do whatever you can the natural way. But don't forget that in the end, if you succeed, it's not because you have the best Air Force, it's not because you have the most mighty army, it's because Hashem is our stronghold. He's our salvation. And because of that, he won't let us fall. Next pasuk. Bitchu bo bechol et. Pasuk tet. Have trust in him at all times. At all times? Yeah. Well, I'll explain that in a moment. At all times. Am, nation, shifchu lefanav levavchem, pour out your hearts before him. Elohim machse lanu sela, God is our refuge forever. Now he's talking to the nation, and he's telling us how important it is to pray and to trust Hashem at all times. Because we don't know what moment, what day is more propitious. It's not like we need to pray on Shabbat, or we need to pray when there is a full moon. No. Don't think that way. B'chol et. Trust in Hashem at all times, meaning pray to him, turn to him. Don't let go of your connection for one moment. Hashem responds. Hashem listens to our prayers, but it doesn't say when. Perhaps Hashem's plan is, you know what? As soon as 5 years of prayers go by, that's when I'll answer him. It could be. We don't know. We have to do our best. We have to do our maximum. One cannot say, well, I've already prayed enough. I've prayed for 10 years. Imagine a couple who has no kids. They've been praying for a long time. 20 years without kids. Now what? Stop praying? No. B'chol et, at all times. Continue to pray. It could be in the merit of your prayer, someone else will have a child. Yes, that could happen too. Prayer can be very powerful if it's real prayer from the heart. So therefore he says, trust in Hashem at all times. here, if you look at the words carefully, he says not only to trust, but to pour out your heart and to recall at all times that he's our refuge. The emphasis, the reason why he uses such strong words to remind us that Hashem is their refuge, that we should turn to him at all times, is because it could very possibly be that an individual may be going through a very, very rough time. Rabbis tell us that imagine somebody's underneath the guillotine. Cherev chada munachat al tzavaro shel adam. Al yityaesh min harachamim. You should never give up hope from seeking mercy, compassion. Just because he's about to be taken to the guillotine, so what? To the gallows. Things have happened in the past. Do you know of stories that they actually put the rope around the neck? They attempted to hang the guy, and the rope tore. Well, he fell through. Nothing happened to him. They did it again. Nothing happened to him. They let him go free. They realized that this is a miracle. The hand of Hashem is involved. So that's why he says, pour out your heart. Do whatever you can. Say Tehilim. Read from this book. Pray. Give tzedakah. Whatever you can. Because he is our refuge. So therefore do whatever you can to seek his help. However, when he says bitchu bo bechol ed, he's not just saying to be repetitious, to try again and again. He's also implying, make sure that when you trust him, when you turn to him, you do it with all your heart, that you are sincere about it, not just lip service. Real bitachon. Another idea of why he says bechol ed at all times is for the following reason. Imagine that someone has helped you because he has a lot of money or he has a lot of influence in the government. There's no guarantee that that man's wealth or influence will remain with him forever, right? So you may say, well, he's an individual who I should ask for help because he is someone that can help me. Yeah, but that same individual maybe will not be able to help you a couple years down the road. His situation may change. So guess what? Bitchu bo b'chol ed. In Hashem, you could always rely on at all times. Hashem doesn't change. Hashem's help is always available. To him you can always turn. He'll never let you down. He may have reasons why he doesn't want to grant your wishes right now, but maybe he will grant them later. We don't know why our wishes, our prayers are not always answered, but they are heard. If they're sincere, they definitely are heard. And Hashem knows what's best for us. So in him, you can trust all the time, regardless of your circumstances. Next pasuk. Ach hevel b'nei adam kazav b'nei ish b'moznaim la'alot hema mehevel yachad. This is a very funny pasuk. That's the way I see it. I mean, I don't mean that it's a joke. Funny because of the way he describes how people talk. People think when they see two individuals who got engaged, who met, got married, oh, you see him? He's just right for her, and you know who did it? He suggested it, or she brought them together, and the rest is history. That's heavily calls. The way people talk is a bunch of nonsense and vanities. Hashem made it happen. Matches are made in heaven. What are you talking about? It's similar to when people ask about an individual who passed away. Oh, how old was he? Or what did he die from? What do you mean, what did he die from? Why is that so important to you? The angel of death came and took his soul. When the time comes, unless of course it was a terrible tragedy, accident, things like that, unexpected, but people usually die because their time has come. How did he die? What's the difference? They want to know, was it a stroke? Was it a heart attack? What was it? What's it? Why do you want to know? The angel of death came and took his soul. The Malach HaMavet was here. Not here, but at the individual's bedside. So that's what he says in this pasuk. Ach hevel b'nei adam, men are but vanity. Kazav b'nei ish. People are just talking falsehood. B'moznaim la'alot b'moznaim la'alot hema mehevel yachad. If they were to be put on the scale, they would be lighter than vanity. These people are not worth too much. In other words, people's mindset, their thoughts, the way they think is so foolish, is so silly. They sometimes act like little children. You know, I may have told you before, when it comes to matches made in heaven, there was an individual who came complaining to the Chazon Ish, to great Rabbi, anytime a girl is mentioned, suggested for me to date, this neighbor of mine always ruins it for me. He always does something and he ruins it for me. Nobody wants to come, no one wants to go out with me anymore. He always ruins my dates. So the rabbi says, you don't understand. The ones that he had ruined for you were not your soulmates. When your real soulmate comes, either he will not be around, he'll be out of town, or he will not succeed. People think all kinds of things. Oh, he's ruining it for me. Now, obviously, if a person misbehaves himself, he may be pushing off his chances of finding his soulmate. But if a person does everything right, he prays, he behaves himself, doesn't push it off, makes an effort to date, and really wants to get married for the real reasons, he's not picky. I only want a girl with money, or a girl that has a PhD, or a girl that will support me. As long as he's not talking nonsense and being picky, then there's no reason why he should not find his soulmate. I mean, of course, Hashem has his reasons why people get married later, some sooner, why sometimes it's delayed. But as long as there's no accusation against us for something that we did that was terribly wrong, there's no reason to suspect or to believe that another human being can ruin it for me. No, that can never happen. Same thing with livelihood, parnasah. The competition across the street. You've been here for 25 years. Somebody just opened the same type of business. You think he's going to take away your livelihood? It's all in the hands of Hashem, the livelihood. And even if it appears that he's taking away, you will receive money from another source. Maybe an inheritance to make up for the losses, if there were losses. There's no reason to have any doubts about this, but this requires bitachon in Hashem. So this theme of bitachon, of having trust and faith in Hashem, is repeated various times, not only in Tehilim, in other books as well of the Torah. Rabbis talk about the importance of trusting, because without trust, without real trust in Hashem, people go crazy. People become sick, and they can die prematurely because they took it to heart. What are you taking it to heart? You think that individual can actually ruin your life if it's not meant to be? He decrees from above everything. The only area where we have free will, remember, is whether you're a God-fearing person or not, whether you act as a gentleman, whether you're a good person, a good friend, a good father, a good husband, you perform the mitzvot or not. This is where we have free will. But how much money, who you will marry, what kind of kids, who your neighbor will be, which house you will end up buying, that's all completely in the hands of the Mazal, which Hashem predestined before we were even born. So that's part of what he's saying here in Pasuk Yud. Achevel b'nei Adam, people are just vain. They have all these silly ideas of what they think. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. As another verse says, Rabot machshavo b'levish matzat Hashem itakum. Right? Many are the thoughts of human beings, but in the end, it's what Hashem desires, that is what will happen. We can't go against His wishes, against His will. People have all kinds of plans after they retire. They never make it to retirement. They die. Anything can happen. One person is alive today, the following day he's no longer alive. He's no longer around. What happened? He was young. We don't have complete control of our lives. So these people are foolish, vain to think like that they can make all the plans. That is why ever since a child is of chinuch age, in other words, he's already at the age of where you can teach him, impart on him valuable lessons in Judaism, you train him, a Jewish child, to say Be'ezrat Hashem. Im Yirtzeh Hashem, if God wishes so, with the help of God, I will do so. See you tomorrow, God willing. Bli neder, without making a promise. All of these is to train us, to get us used to remembering that it's not all in our hands. Anything can happen. So part of the reason why he calls human beings hevel is because even when they do promise, they don't always deliver. You cannot therefore trust them. Don't put your trust in human beings because it's all hevel. It's like vapor. Hevel also means vapor. Thin air. As we say in Arabic, malyan hawa, full of air. Sometimes people say things, but they cannot deliver. So that is the point. Don't put your faith in them, otherwise you'll be disappointed. Put your faith in God. פסוק י"א, אל תבטחו בעושק ובגזל, אל תחבלו, חיל כי ינוב, אל תשיתו לב. Very important pasuk in describing those who have apparently succeeded in making lots of money. Many times that money was made through illegal means, through robbery, by cheating others. So he says, Al tiftachu be'oshek. Don't put your trust in exploiting others, taking advantage of others. That's called oshek. Not paying them what is due to them. Or begazel, outright robbery, thievery. Al tehbalu, don't put your futile hope that that money that was made through thievery will last. Because hayil ki yanuv, even if this corrupt wealth, in other words, this illegal type of fortune that was made, even if it flourishes, it prospers, his investment turned out to be good investment. Al tashitu lev. Don't heed it. Don't pay attention. Don't let it convince you, well, if he got away with it, if he can do it, I can do it. And this idea is mentioned several times in Tehilim and elsewhere. Don't be misled by what you see, by what your eyes see. Because you don't know the whole history of this individual. You don't see him from the time he came out of his mother's womb, from the time he had diapers on, until his last day in this world. We don't see what happens to an individual, usually not. And even if we do see that he was prosperous, we don't see what will be with him in the afterlife. So don't be misled into thinking that this is correct, that this is fine. We talk about, after all, oshek and gezel. And the rabbis tell us that of all the sins that people have a weakness with, gezel is on top, stealing. Now, stealing doesn't mean highway robbery or armed robbery. It doesn't mean that you hold up somebody and you steal from him. There's a lot of ways that people can take what is not theirs from others by cheating them. And that's a form of gezel. So which the rabbis tell us, Ruban begezel me'ut be'arayot, be'kulam be'avak lashon hara. It says the vast majority of people make this mistake because the evil inclination when it comes to money is very powerful. And they say, well, it's coming to me. Or, let's say they don't steal or cheat, but they charge him a lot more than what he would pay for it somewhere else. You know, there's a lot of people who are really very good in lying. You know how they tell you? That for you, I'll give it you at cost price. I'm not going to make any money from you. We're friends. Right? You know people like that? For you, I will lose money. A complete lie. And they're not even ashamed of it. Al tiftachu be'osher, he's warning those people that take advantage of the naive. Don't trust that kind of money. Al tehbalu. Don't put your futile hope into this kind of money. And even if the individual appears to be making appears to be making a lot of money, Al tashitu lev, don't pay attention. It will not last long. Any money that is not kosher, eventually, the beracha that may have been there first, the blessing that you may have had earlier, will disappear as a result of the bad money. There's an Arabic saying that the bad money will come and take the good money away and run. In other words, the person may have had good money, kosher money, but now he had non-kosher money, illegal money, and that will make things worse for him. I think the saying is, "Il-mal il-haram yakhud il-mal il-halal wa-yagri." Right? The bad money will take the good money and run. So a person could have had good money, and as a result of the dishonesty or the cheating of others, his beracha will not last long. Now, why is he telling us about money here? What does money have to do with bitachon? We were talking about having faith and trust in people, in human beings. Some people have faith and trust in their money. Millions of dollars in the bank account. Billions of dollars. Haven't you heard stories of people who've lost billions of dollars, who lost their entire fortune, who went broke completely, who are now in jail even because of what they did? Did all that money help them? No. So therefore, even if you see an individual prospering, don't heed it. Don't pay attention to it. Achad diber Elohim, verse 12. Achad diber Elohim shetayim zu shamati ki oz Elohim. The last two pesukim really are together. God spoke one thing from which I perceived two. He's talking about one of the most important principles in Judaism here, that there is reward and punishment for one's actions. So Hashem, by saying one word, saying one idea in the Torah, two things are understood from it. Ki oz Elohim, that strength belongs to God. In other words, how do we see that? We see it in two ways. He continues on. Lecha Adonai Hased, ki ata teshalem leish k'maaseh, the last verse. That yours, my Lord, is kindness, for you repay each man according to his deeds. K'maaseh. So here we have two ideas. The idea of reward and punishment. Chesed meaning kindness. On the other hand, you pay each individual, each man, according to his deeds. Measure for measure. All of this happens in one's life, and even if it did not happen in one's life, it can happen in a future reincarnation. These last two pesukim, the rabbis tell us, also imply something very important. That even if you do see an individual who's not righteous, is evil, being successful, just remember, you want to know what Hashem's kindness is all about? Yes, that even if a person is evil, but he did something kind, something good himself once upon a time, Hashem will pay him for that. That comes from Hashem's kindness, that he puts aside any of the evil, the wrong that this individual has done. That's an example of Hashem's kindness. Another example of Hashem's kindness is that a person may have had nothing, and he's a sinful individual. Hashem gives him something to own. It could be children, it could be wealth, and then he takes it away from him, and that's very painful. But that's kindness. He didn't have it before. Instead of Hashem taking him, Hashem gives him something, and then takes that something away from him. So isn't that kindness? He has given him a way to get out of the problem, to receive an atonement. How does he accomplish that? What could he take from him? He has nothing. He says, you know what? I'm going to make him win the lottery. He's a sinful person. I'm going to make him win the lottery. And after a year or two, I'm going to take it away from him. And he's going to feel so bad. He's going to be frustrated. He's going to be upset. But that will be his kapara. So Hashem did an act of kindness for him by giving him something so that he can take that something away from him later on. In this way, to atone for his sins. The greater act of kindness is when Hashem gives a person a chance. It doesn't take him away from this world. He figures he'll do teshuvah, one of these days he will repent. I'm going to wait for him. Hashem is therefore tolerant and patient and gives people a second chance. My favorite, however, is what the rabbis tell us about these last two pesukim, that if you ever see someone who's far from being righteous, doing very well in many areas of life, what you should think is, if this is how Hashem deals with those who are against Him, the more so I can just imagine what He will do for those who did do what He asked of them to do. If this is how Hashem deals with the sinners, with those who committed sins, then imagine how much He will do for those who observe His mitzvot. That's the correct way to look at things. Not, how could it be? He doesn't deserve it. It's not right. Where's justice? If this man gets this, could you imagine what a righteous individual will get, especially in the afterlife? Because reward doesn't happen for the most part in this world, it happens in the afterlife. In the end, of course, for anything that we pay in this world, it's also an act of kindness, so Hashem can give us our reward intact. So before one leaves this world, sometimes he goes through illness for a number of years perhaps. And that is also for his benefit, for his good, so that he should be able to receive his sachar, his reward intact in the afterlife. Perek Samach Gimel, chapter 63. This chapter is good for partners. You know, with partners, many times things go wrong. There's fights, machloket, arguments, they break up. This is a perek that can help one succeed in a partnership or to succeed in some business venture. Mizmor David biyoto b'midbar Yehuda. So here he put together a psalm, or a song, when he was in the desert of Yehuda. What is he doing in the desert? So this is part of what he experienced when Shaul was running after him. And he says, Hashem, even in such places like a desert, I think of you, I praise you, I thank you. Elohim Eliata Ashahareka Samea Lecha Nafshi Kamah Lecha Besari Be'eretz Tziyah Ve'ayef Bli Mayim. Oh God, you are almighty, I seek you. Ashahareka means I seek you, I look for you. And my soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you. So he's describing his longing, his searching, like someone who's thirsty. In a desolate and dry land without water, so I thirst to see you in the sanctuary, to behold your might and glory. Ken b'kodesh chaziticha lirot uzecha u'kvodecha. David HaMelech wants to impress upon us that in the same way that people are thirsty for water, in the same way that people long for certain things that are important to them, he very much longs and is thirsty for spirituality, for a connection with Hashem. So he describes it using terms that we are familiar with. Thirst in a hot place, in the desert. We want it. We very much need it. We crave it. We long for it. That is the way one should feel towards the relationship with Hashem. He should want to have it. He should thirst for it. And he does so, and he expresses this even when he's in the desert. Regardless of where he was. You might think he had no time to think. He was being pursued. This is what he always cherished. This is always what he cared for. No one should ever make the mistake that he wanted something just for himself. As he has said many, many times, life is not worth it in itself just to eat and drink and to survive. If he wants to be saved, if he wants to stay alive, it's only because he wants to observe the mitzvot. He wants to form a connection with God. And here he expresses it in a different way. That he wants this as much, if not more, than anything else in the world. Ken ba'kodesh chaziticha. In other words, I thirst to see you in the sanctuary, to behold, to see your might and your glory. You might think that this is something that is not possible for us, only for someone on a high level like David HaMelech, but that's not so. He wouldn't write this and he wouldn't say it if this was not possible. He wants to impress upon us that this type of level, where one has clarity and focus of what's important in life, what is a real priority, is possible, is attainable. The cleaner and the purer one is in his mind and his thoughts, it is possible for him to think that way, to feel that way. So this is something that we should aim for. This is something so special, as he soon will tell us, that this gave him the greatest pleasure in life. So his main request here is to remain in the sanctuary, as he says elsewhere. This is his main goal. For your kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise you. Tov chazdecha michayim. Your kindness is better than life? Yeah. Life meaning in this physical world. Your act of kindness is much more valuable to me than all of what life is worth. Also, very important idea. People think that you only live once. Enjoy it. The afterlife, the world to come, is much greater. This world does not compare in any way to the world to come. That's when it means ki chazdecha, what's awaiting for me from your kindness is much more important to me, more valuable to me, michayim, from life. Sefatay yeshabechutcha, therefore my lips will praise you. This is therefore what he wants to do, is to continue to praise Hashem. Ken avarechecha bechayai, b'shimcha esach hapai. Therefore I will involve myself in two important areas. To bless you, to thank you, and to call out in your name. Esach hapai means I will raise my hands in prayer. So what's the difference between avarechecha and esach hapai? One should not minimize the value of this world, of this life, even though he just said that life in the world to come is much more important. That is chazdecha, that is your act of kindness. I still value this life. Avarechecha b'chaya, because I can bless in this life. I can observe mitzvot here. I can increase my reward. B'shimcha esach hapai. And I will raise, in your name I will raise my hands in prayer. This is something I can't do over there. So he's saying, this life, even though it does not compare to the life in the world to come, is still valuable. I can still do something constructive here. As with fat and abundance, my soul is sated, or satisfied, when my mouth offers praise with expressions of joy. So here he's describing that which is spiritual to something that we are familiar with, to be sated, to have a good meal, like with fat and abundance. Why tell us all this? David HaMelech sang a lot, praised a lot, prayed a lot, and he says that all of this did him a lot of good. When an individual prays and thanks Hashem all the time, on a regular basis, he will actually see how much he will gain. He will be transformed. He will feel like a different person. So all of that he has done has already helped him. Not that he has merits for that. Besides that, it has helped him in a physical way. He actually feels better. He actually is more trusting. He feels more connected to Hashem because of that. And he's telling us how often he did it. Indeed, I remember you upon my bed during the watches of the night. I meditate upon you. So he remembers and he meditates. One could be praising and singing to Hashem. Another could be perhaps learning Torah early in the morning. right before he goes to sleep, and right before he's about to get up. Early in the morning, first thing that comes to his mind is to pray, to study. Rabbis tell us, you know what the significance of all this is? It's not just about regularity here. It's not just about emphasizing the importance of learning and praying. It depends how you go to sleep. Some people go to sleep after watching TV. Not a good idea. What's on TV already? He went to sleep from Torah, from learning or from saying words of praise and thanks to Hashem. First thing he did in the morning was not check on did the stock go up or go down, the latest news. I study your Torah, I think about you, I meditate about you. If one goes to sleep after learning Torah, his dreams are purer. His neshama goes higher. He has a better sleep. Plus, that learning of Torah before he went to sleep will help him the following day as well. So it has a tremendous koach, that merit of the learning of Torah, especially at night when people are asleep or going to the movies or doing other silly things that are not constructive. And this one individual is learning Torah. It makes a very big impression in the upper worlds. So he's telling us that he did this al yitzuai on my bed. Even though yitzuai is in the plural, it could be, like some commentators explain, he couldn't sleep in one place every night. He had to switch places. So he was sleeping in many places. And everywhere he went, regardless of his situation, that he was in danger, he learned Torah and he prayed to Hashem and he thanked Hashem. My soul cleaves to you. Your right hand has supported me. I think this is one of the most important pesukim here in this chapter, where he reveals to us the yesod, the foundation of dvekut, of how to be attached to Hashem, how to form that close connection that we were talking about earlier. Davka nafshi acharecha. You know how I succeeded to form that close relationship, to be attached to you? Bitamecha yeminecha, because you supported me. Your right hand supported me. The rabbis learn from this. Kol hamekadesh et atzmo milemata mekadshim oto milemala. Whoever sanctifies himself in this world down here below, they will sanctify him upstairs. Me'at, they will do arbe. If he does a little, they will do a lot for him. He will be able to do things that he was not capable of doing on his own, naturally. He will receive divine assistance that will make him achieve a lot more than if he were to be completely on his own. Mishamayim, they will help him. From heaven, they help you. You can achieve a lot more. All that is required is that for one, make an effort. I want to be close to Hashem, and I will set out to do something about that. I will make an effort. I will take the first step. Therefore, this was possible because because your right hand supported me. Because of your support, I was able to elevate to higher levels and to form a closer relationship with you. Towards the end of the chapter, they will seek desolation. Shoah is translated as desolation for my soul. In other words, they want to get rid of me. They want the worst to happen to me. But in the end, what will happen is that they will enter, yavo betachtiyot aretz, they will enter the depths of the earth. In other words, they put so much effort into trying to bring my downfall. In the end, it is they who will fall. I wanted to add to this pasuk another mamar, another saying that the rabbis tell us. We talked about kola mekadesh tatzmo, or kola bali taher, nesayinotu me'ashamayim. Those who want to purify themselves, who want to be holy, they will receive divine assistance. But the rabbis also add something very important. Kola bali tameh, potchin lo. If an individual wants to become unclean, impure, he wants to be evil, they open the door for him. It doesn't say they assist him to be evil, like it says when he wants to be holy. One who wants to be holy and close to Hashem, they will help him. But if one wants to do the wrong things, he wants to be impure, unclean, they open the door. They will not necessarily stop him unless he has some merit or he doesn't know what he's doing. They will not stop somebody from being evil. They wanted to bring someone's downfall. In the end, yavo b'tachtiot haaretz. They will bring themselves down. The doors are open for them. They want to ruin their life, they will ruin it. So this is what they intended to do. And this is their result. In the end, in the future, whether in this life or in the afterlife, they will be down there below. How will this happen? So again, he's saying this in Ruach HaKodesh. These are prophetic words. Yagiruhu al yedei harev minat shu'alim yiyu. They will drag them by the sword. They will be the portion of foxes. A lot of his enemies died by the sword. Yagiru means like dragged, being taken, being killed in battle through the sword. But it's interesting that he adds the words minat shu'alim yiyu. They will be the portion of the foxes. In other words, their corpse will not necessarily be brought to burial. The Kever said right away. They will be scavenged by wild animals, at least initially. In other words, they will die a cruel death, an unrespectable type of death. If somebody's killed, at least you can bury him right away. But they're going to have a very terrible type of death. And remember, all of this is a kapara for their soul. This is an atonement for them. But still, this is what he sees will happen to those individuals who try to harm him. They will be taken by the sword, and they will not necessarily come to be buried right away. The last pasuk is Vamelech Yismach Belohim Yitalel Kol HaNishba Bo Ki Yisacher Pi Dovrei Shaker, and the king will rejoice in God, referring to him. In the end, he will become king. They try to stop it. They try to take it away from him. They try to interfere in him getting that position. In the end, the king will rejoice. And who else will rejoice with the king? All those who swear by him will take pride. He did have some supporters. All those who supported him, they will merit to see him rise to power, and they will be proud of him. They will rejoice with him. And there were certain individuals that always stood by him and always helped him, who were always by his side. So they will rejoice together with David. But the last words of the Perek are very powerful. When the mouth of liars are locked up. Ki yisacher pi dovrei shaker. The mouths of liars will be locked up, will be shut. All those who are still around, who are liars, they will have nothing to say. They will not be able to do anything, not act in any way. Completely shut, locked. They will be dumbfounded. They will be in shock. They will realize the truth, that they were wrong, hopefully. The sheker, the falsehood, will be completely blocked up. This last pasuk, these last words, are significant because in the past, there were many such individuals who tried to get their way, their false way, to have some influence. One example is what the Midrash tells us, is that the mockers of the generation in which Abraham and Sarah lived, when she became pregnant, they were saying, oh, Sarah is pregnant? It must be from Paro in Egypt, or it must be from Avimelech. It couldn't be from Abraham, after all. She's 90 years old, he's 100, they haven't had children, you know. You see how people begin a rumor and begin to spread lies intentionally to make fun without investigating the matters? So what did Hashem do? So there's a beautiful mashal. There was once a pigeon that was being chased by a raven and a hawk. Chased. And she finally was able to escape to her nest. A few days later, they see some eggs in the nest. And people were saying, oh, those eggs must be from the hawk. And others were saying, oh, no, those eggs belong to the raven. Then one smart man said, eggs are eggs, you can't tell from the eggs. Just wait till the eggs hatch and then you will see what it's like. Then you will see where it's from. And sure enough, it was a pigeon. When Sarah became pregnant, Hashem told the angel who's in charge of the formation of the fetus, make this child appear not like the mother, but like the father. So when Yitzchak was born, nobody was able to say anymore, oh, she was pregnant from Paro, she was pregnant from Avimelech. He looks just like his father, Abraham. You see what I mean? Their lies, their mouth was shut. They couldn't say anything, yeah. And this is also what happened, the Midrash says, when the Jewish people unfortunately made the golden calf. Oh, Hashem is no longer going to be with them. He's going to abandon them forever right now, after something like that. But then Hashem says, make for me a mishkan. Make for me a tabernacle. When the non-Jewish world saw that Hashem is commanding them to make a house for Him, He must have made up with them. Because v'shachanti betocham, I will be with you, I will dwell with you, despite it all. And last but not least, this is exactly what will happen right before Mashiach comes. We have a tradition that the non-Jewish world, many of the enemies will say that the Jews are not going back home. That's it, they were cursed, they were abandoned, they lost their home. The Beit HaMikdash is destroyed, they were kicked out. But in 1948, we started coming back home. And now what? Many of the enemies said, well, maybe they'll come home. After all, the prophets said they're going to come home. But maybe they're not going to get Yerushalayim. Well, 1967, we got back Yerushalayim. Ki sacher pi dovrei shaker. The mouths of the liars will be shut. When everybody sees the truth come out, when Mashiach comes, the truth will be revealed. Bezat Hashem very soon.